The people of Ondo State will be heading to the polls on November 16, 2024 to elect a governor that will pilot the affairs of the state for the next 4 years. According to the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), 18 political parties have nominated candidates for the election. On this week's edition of the Tracker, we will be scrutinizing the electoral process and readiness of critical stakeholders to synergise towards a free and fair election. My name is Joy Pius. Election is a formal and organized choice by vote of a person for a political office. Elections and other political processes are pivotal to the quality of a country's governance. Elections can either greatly advance or set back a country's long-term democratic development. The most fundamental principle defining credible elections is that they must reflect the free expression of the will of the people. To achieve this, elections should be transparent, inclusive, and trusted by voters and those elected. There must be equitable opportunities to compete in the election. For several months now, Ondo State has been planning its governorship election, with the Independent National Electoral Commission working to ensure a successful process. How far is INEC in terms of preparation and implementation of plans for the November 16 poll?
We have concluded the continuous voter registration exercise. We now have a total number of 2,053,061 registered voters in Ondo State. PVC distribution for the CVR has been concluded and 64,273 PVCs were issued during the exercise. We have published and presented the official register to political parties. Voter register for the polling units have been printed and they are distributed to local government offices ahead of the election. All the beavers required for the election, they are fully charged and configured. We have a total of 4,002 beavers which we are deploying for the election. And at the same time, we have 812 beavers which we have set aside for backup. We have been engaging in massive voter education and public awareness using different channels and platforms. This awareness campaign is still ongoing. I'm glad to inform you that all non-sensitive materials for the elections have been in the local government offices for the past 3 weeks. They have been sorted, they are batched, and they are ready for distribution to polling units. We have had several engagements with transport union to ensure seamless movement of men and material to racks, polling units, collation centers, and for reverse logistics.
And we made a record in 2016 in Ondo State. We conducted the governorship election here. For the first time ever in the history of democratic elections in Ondo State, the outcome was not challenged in court. Even though 3 of the candidates are actually senior lawyers, including 2 senior advocates of Nigeria. We have also accredited thousands of agents representing candidates and political parties for all the polling and collation locations across the state. I want to assure you that accreditation cards for all categories of stakeholders are ready. We have warned our staff that there will be consequences for the dereliction of duty in any way or form.
Election is a multi-stakeholder activity. Hence, its success can only be measured by the active involvement of different players in the build-up to the poll. To ascertain the level of preparedness for the November 16 poll, the tracker engaged key players in the conduct of the election, which is only 3 days away. All forms of political campaigns terminate at midnight of Thursday, 14th November. a campaign window that generated mixed reactions from observers.
The rhetorics are always similar. The party in power will promise they are going to do new things. The parties, others that are also contesting, will also promise to do new things and all of that. And all what we have seen in the build-up to the election is, to a large extent, at some point, they relegated the issues to the background and were more like attacking personalities or talking about past histories of accountability of what people were not able to do and all of that, without necessarily addressing what are the major that we have been experiencing this civility in the state. It's a sort of political maturity that has also happened over time in the state. Most of these are people that are just switching cars, so that's why somehow they have things in their arsenal that they think they can use to attack the opposition and all of that. But maybe it's also a call from this moment moving on to the election to get them to switch gears and begin to talk in concrete terms, the sort of ideas that can appeal to the people. Because most times it is some of these things that they say around their political campaign that get to manifest as their own manifestos or when they begin implementation.
We have not seen much from the other political parties in terms of their campaign on the field, but we have seen the two major parties, that's the PDP and APC, going out to the field to campaign. So that's what we can just say. Like I said, there have been some level of issues that have been raised during the campaign. Like I said, in terms of human capital development, in terms of infrastructural development, worker salary, in terms of the increment, allusions have been made to that. We would have loved to see more about open up the economy in terms of the concept of the federal government, how well the state is aligned to the federal government ideals of the economy, in terms of blue economy, in terms of innovation, changing the landscape, agricultural revolution, a deeper blueprint. Would have loved to see all those ones unfolded.
Beyond the electioneering, there are issues of concerns as witnessed in previous elections. Ondo State, being the most recent off-circle election in Nigeria, recorded low turnout of voters, though it appears the factors responsible for that is not evident in Ondo State.
If you compare this election in Ondo as against the 2020 election, you see that there have been a lot of huge progress, especially around the decorum by the political actors in the build-up to the election. In the 2020 pre-election period, at Young Africa, we documented serious incidents of election-related violence in 12 of the 18 local governments. In fact, I remember one of the reports we had received in 2019 or 2020 was about an innocent woman that was going about her legitimate duty, but was wearing apparel of a different party at the top, another party at the bottom. They stripped her naked. They beat her up. It's in the news. If you search, you'll see that. So our observers saw that and they reported. But in this election, we have not had any major incidents. So I think that is also enough to give people the confidence, because people are first defeated if elections are happening in the atmosphere of insecurity or atmosphere of fear. And like I said, which we have seen, if you go through history of some election conducted in the last 4 or 5 years, you'll realize that in the build-up to the election, you keep getting that concerns around insecurity and all of that. So I think that is one thing that we have been able to successfully overcome in the election here. So, and I'm hoping that, like I said, will be a boost or an assurance to the people to go out and engage.
Aside voter apathy, another concern is the menace of vote buying. Nigerians are religious people and picks some of their decisions from the pulpits. What impacts are religious groups having on shaping minds of the electorate ahead the poll?
We, the CAN, Christian Association of Nigeria in Ondo State, and the whole Christian body of the state, we've took along and many steps to make sure that the election is going on smoothly. And we have called the attention of our people, of our members, that is their right to choose who they want to be the next governor. And we preach to them peace, that there should be no any thuggery attitude. They should go out en masse to go and conduct their franchise. There should be no any buying or selling of votes. And we told them that this election should be a vote of conscience. You have to vote for your conscience, not that somebody buy your conscience. You should not allow anybody to buy your conscience.
The Holy Prophet said that the love of one nation is equal to half of one's deen, that is half of one's faith before God. So we must love our nation. So if we want to choose a leader, it is the duty of every one of us to be part of it. So as an imam, we have inculcated this into every member, both men, women, and those that are of age, diverting you from your choice, maybe in the name of money. That money you only spend it temporarily, but whoever buy your vote will be there for in the next 4 years. So you can only enjoy that money for the period he gave you the money in order to buy you. That means your right and whatever supposed to be your right as a citizen, you have already sold it at day one.
Having understood the potentials and the power that they possess, especially when it comes to information dissemination, they are doing a lot, to ensure that people are conscientized on the need for them to participate in the electoral process. Not minding that, the number of participants, the number of voters are dwindling. And so, while civil society does their own, maybe hands-on, one-on-one engagement, at forums such as religious gathering, it's also an opportunity or a veritable place for us, for voters' education and mobilization to take place.
A major area of distrust from the electorate towards INEC is the perceived manipulation of election results, which are also alleged in the Ondo State election. What assurances and indices are available to voters in Ondo State that their votes would count? The tracker spoke with INEC's Assistant Director, Voter Education and Publicity.
I don't know where the information emanated from, but the point for us here in Ondo, our resolve and our concentration is your vote has been counting, it will count, and it will continue to count. With the introduction of technology into the process, manipulation has gone away. Nobody could manipulate anything.
I think if people are raising concerns about a process, for me, it takes a lot of effort and humility to really go back and reflect through the process and see what can be done better. And I think in some sense, INEC had also admitted that, because some of the comments we keep getting from INEC is that Ondo is going to be better than Ondo, especially Edo, especially the resource collation. Now, we saw clear cases of election manipulation, resource manipulation in places like Ego local government, Oredo local government, Esako West local government. What had happened in those places where that they did the bad elements didn't just allow the process to happen. In Iboba of our local government, for instance, what they did was to come through canisters of tear gas and disrupt the place. And then, of course, the people that have ulterior motive felt the place was not safe to continue with the collation. And so they moved the collation to INEC headquarters in the capital. The same also had happened in Esako. In Esako West local government, there was just sporadic gunshots around the polling units, the collation center, and then they have to move collation to the capital. Now, we have also seen in the past, it is during this transition process that results get manipulated. Now, in the case of Edo, there were a lot of call for INEC to review the process because there were cancellations that were reported at some levels, but they were not reported at another level. For instance, at the ward level, there were reports of cancellation of elections and all of that from the polling unit. But if you go back to the final declaration that was done at the state level, you will not hear about such cancellation. So when this process is opaque, people begin to raise questions.
Copy of rats. These are election day issues that, you know, we can say are critical to the success of this. While you have done all those pre-election activities are perfectly well, there's this election day activity that's always a big problem. For example, when is the raffle play? Are they supposed to be what we call on-time delivery of what's it called? On-time delivery of election materials at the polling units. These are things that we needed to have INEC take care of for the election day. So while you have done those ones, the pre-election issues very well, we also need to be able to do those ones, that will happen on the election day incredibly well. So when you look at the election activity, we can say, yeah, fine, they've done so much.
The transportation of sensitive materials to various local governments and across polling units is another talking point ahead of the election. There have been claims that National Union of Road Transport Workers (NURTW), which INEC partners with to carry out the assignments, are often loyal to the party in power, which leads to compromises. We inquired if INEC has considered these concerns in its plans.
Union, we are recruiting their vehicles to be used, and their vehicle has drivers. And their drivers, we are going to get their number, and their driver of each vehicle whom we are engaging for the election is going to be subjected to every procedure of recruitment of election officials. So we are not, and by that, if you violate any of the rule, you are bound to face the consequence of that rule. And one of them is, if you decide not to do what you are supposed to do after taking up our job, you can be sanctioned with negligence or with dereliction of duty. So all those areas are there. So we are not taking them as we are taking NURTW as a union. No. We are taking the rest. The involvement of the union is that, yes, that is the union that coordinate and control. And you agree with me, we need that coordination for them to work. So we need that coordination. But we are taking the vehicles, we are taking the drivers, and not the union.
The tracker approached the National Union of Road Transport Workers to ascertain the level of readiness for the task ahead. We also raised the concern of partisanship among the NURTW.
You know, as a union member or anything, everybody has rights to vote. And everybody has rights to belong to at least one party, not the other. But when it comes to the assignment we are holding now, in fact, everyone that is involved have been warned. That day, we don't want to see anybody wearing any cap, bearing the emblem of any party, nor neither the vest, nor even the vehicle we are going to use. They remain neutral. We remain neutral that very day, once you know you are holding these assignments. So with that, we are not partisan to any party. Outside, everybody has his own party. But when it comes to these national assignments, no. All of us is guided by the rules and regulations. And I'm assuring you that day, by the grace of God, we are going to stick to that rule and regulation.
Safety is often a concern to voters during elections. The relative peace witnessed pre-election in Ondo State and other measures put in place by security agencies is an assurance from stakeholders that voters have nothing to fear on election day.
Friends have the opportunity to exercise their rights to franchise, to choose their leaders by majority votes. Given the fact that the process of election leads to the emergence of leaders, the stakes are always very high, as most contenders with their followers tend to deploy all means to ensure victory. In our climb, some contenders strategize to generate some heat in the polity, thereby posing serious security threats. Regarding such threats, provision of security before, during and after the process become an essential and concerted duty. On our part as security agencies, we promise to leave no stone unturned in order to provide each free and conducive atmosphere prior, during, and post-election security at the conclusion of the process, which shall ensure that the success recorded in the new election will be improved upon.
People will turn out if this level of peace is maintained as we go into the election. And the fact that the environment is not over-militarized when security people come in will go a long way also in assuring people, of coming out, and also of their security. And also, if the show of force is not intimidating, and if conduct of security operative before, during, and after the election, before and during the election, it's top notch.
Beyond the assurances given that the election will be peaceful, what is the level of confidence that their votes will count and culminate in a free and fair election?
Let's be part of the decision of who our governor will be in Ondo State. And you cannot be in the house. You cannot be sitting down watching television and say you are part of it. We implore you that your PVC which you have collected, take it on that day, go out and do your civic responsibility. We are sure we're going to have seamless election.
Votes are counting, and that is why you're seeing gimmicks around the election. The process is getting better. That is why you're seeing all these shenanigans happening around the process. Like I said, largely now at the polling unit level, because you have large number of people trooping out, INEC seems to perform better. It is the transition between polling and collation that still remains a problem. So the charge that we are doing to security agencies, and we had mentioned this to the Commissioner of Police in Ondo State, is to also allow unhindered access to the collation centers.
From all indications, Ondo State is set for the conduct of the governorship election come November 16. The bulk, however, does not stop on the table of INEC. Candidates of political parties, security personnel, and all citizens and residents of Ondo State have complementary roles to play at ensuring a credible exercise that will be a reference point is achieved. Voters must therefore conduct themselves with decorum and vote only their conscience so as to foster a proper democratic governance. That's the size of the program. The tracker returns next week. My name is Joy Pius.